Welcome to part 4 of an interview with Roman Harambura, known as Kuntarkis, on his book The Dream Assassin, Volume 1. Alright, let's go to my first question, which is all about the 7 chapters within the book. Could you please give an outline of what each chapter is about? That will give the reader an overview of your book.
Okay, I can do that, yes. Let's start with chapter 1. This is the main character called Tyrant Getty, before he became Mystical Man. He finds the one who murdered his family, discovering they are serial killers, not just thieves. He personally brings them to justice with his new-founded friend, Frank Hartley, a freelance journalist. As time goes on, Tyrant Getty as Mystical Man comes together with his wife's twin sister, called Jasmine Forbes. Now, chapter 2. Jasmine Forbes learns the truth of what happened to her twin sister through Tyrant Getty as Mystical Man. They partner up with Frank Hartley, a freelance journalist, to run the greatest magical shows in America and all over the world. The first performance is to be free, one performed in the Central Park, New York City, with CNN filming it for top news and promotion for many of the major states in America. So we now go to chapter 3. While Mystical Man, former Tyrant Getty, is doing his first free show in New York Central Park, he comes across a situation which needs his immediate attention. There is a huge amount of drugs, weapons, counterfeit American currency, which will be sold off to the highest bidder. If these new types of drugs get into the streets of America, it will cause tens of thousands of deaths because terrorists are changing their war tactics. Their intention is to create massive panic amongst the American people. The weapons will be sold to the underground terrorists whose intention is to make American public feel deep fear, to wreak havoc in every state of America, to attack randomly at the very foundation of human society. The terrorists are using modern technology more so to win their war against all Western civilizations, knowing if the billions of counterfeit currency finds its way into the American marketplace, which will cause the American dollar to drop so low and ultimately destroy the entire American economy, including any government at that time, which will open the floodgates to so much more corruption that no government could ever handle. That is a new tactic from the so-called modern terrorists. What they didn't count on was the presence of a magical being called Mystical Man, who is beyond all realities when it comes to the word limitations. He has none. Mystical Man possesses limitless powers through a substance called living energy. He will confront this evil and eliminate with very strong prejudice all those, including all terrorists, that have found their way secretly into the United States of America, who have the intentions of harming the innocent or destroying the very foundation of the American people. So now we go into chapter 4. Mystical Man's first huge magical show, run by billionaire Philip Dustin and Jasmine Forbes, will be held in the New York City. His first piece of magic will be of a Sasha, the massive snake, which is created through manifestation from a 2-meter pole stick. While Mystical Man dances, the pole stick follows his lead, then turns into one huge massive snake around 30 meters long, which, by the way, has one huge dragon head. During the performance, Mystical Man is swallowed up by Sasha the snake, leaving the audience in total shock, horror. What happens next will amaze the entire audience. Mystical Man will perform his invisibility act, followed then by creating a doorway into the human past and bring forth 4 different people that exist at different time factors from the human past. His first will be ex-President Lincoln, followed by Martin Luther King, then the famous singer Roy Orbison, followed by the one and only Elvis Presley, and then to everyone's delight, the one and only Michael Jackson, who gives an amazing performance with some songs, followed by his moonwalk. In the second part of the magical show, Mystical Man explains what he is about to create. He will bring forth into the human third-dimensional world The elementals, which is fourth dimensional vibration, where the physical world of solid matter does not exist because it vibrates at a higher frequency than the human world. The elementals of that world are known or referred to as fire, water, air, earth, spirit, which helps Mother Earth keep the balance for humanity, as well as all species of life upon her and within her. Mystical Man will introduce different beings of the elemental kingdom to the audience, which will leave them shocked in their facial expressions, yet humble at the same time. These elementals will talk to the human audience and even answer some questions. With Mystical Man's final magic act, he will explain to the audience that he has a very special event for them. He explained that he has the ability to break down the atomic structure of his own atoms, and through the power of his own imagination, with his thoughts through his mind, he will transform his being into a prehistoric tiger, more so known in the human world as the saber-toothed tiger. Little does the audience realize how huge, how massive these prehistoric tigers were back in time, around 70 to 76 million human years ago. So now we enter chapter 5. This is about a set of twin sisters. One falls in love with the wrong man. He takes out a huge life insurance policy on his wives. Then he plans their death, which in reality he murders them, making it look like suicide or an accident. He has so far married 5 times and murdered all 5 wives. He most certainly is a serial killer, as well as a hired assassin for particular clients in the underworld. His character is of one being a narcissist, a psychopath, an assassin, serial killer. Yet within all of his conversations, no one would think that he is in reality a serial murderer. Yet his sick journey in life is about to come to an end. Mystical Man, through connections, hunts down this serial killer of mainly women, creating a living nightmare for him, forcing him through his own inner fears by writing out his own confession and making him transfer all his money from his accounts to the living sisters and families' bank accounts, then bringing swift justice in his own way that will leave the readers shocked, yet maybe at the same time excited that this lowlife gets what he truly deserves, equal justice, an eye for an eye. So the spirit learns it is not acceptable to murder. So now we enter chapter 6. Mystical Man learns of a conspiracy of terrorists who are planning to blow up the Ambassador Hotel that is holding the World Leaders Conference, which is being held in Niagara Falls. There will be a huge amount of politicians, especially high-ranking ones, including some CEOs from particular companies. The terrorists have been planning this for quite a while. They want to show Canada, as well as America and the world, that they can get to anyone, anytime, any place. There is only one thing that the terrorists did not count on, and that is Mystical Man, who has no mercy policy when it comes to terrorism in any form. He feels, since they have no empathy, nor love, nor feelings of the heart, they all deserve the same treatment. It's called elimination with extreme, swift justice. Mystical Man will instill a fear that the terrorists have never experienced before. Mystical Man and his team members will hold one massive show in Niagara Falls on the same Saturday that the terrorists are planning to blow up the entire Ambassador Hotel, where the World Leaders Conference is being held. The outcome of what the terrorists want to achieve would be a complete shocker to everyone involved. The lives lost will be several thousand. Now we enter chapter 7. In the final chapter of The Dream Assassin Volume 1, once Mystical Man has completed his mission at the Ambassador Hotel in Niagara Falls, he tells his team members that he will be away, handling a situation that needs his attention urgently. He makes direct contact with the head man of the Madeline group called Mr. Sean Crowley, who can't wait to meet this man called Mystical Man, who has destroyed his major plan to eliminate all the world leaders. In one horrific moment in time, Mystical Man is captured by Sean Crowley, who is a criminal in the underworld. In fact, alien extraterrestrials from another dimension, but in human form. Little does this Sean Crowley realize that Mystical Man allows his capture so he can meet this Sean Crowley, who has caused so much pain, so much misery to tens of thousands of innocent people. There is a fierce battle between Mystical Man and Sean Crowley inside of his Empire building. What happens in the end of this battle will leave the reader of this book, or maybe the movie that has come into reality, mind-boggled, yet also a great satisfaction in seeing swift justice brought to the evil that exists on planet Earth. Mystical Man is invited to the White House to meet with the President of the United States of America to discuss the serious situation with an alien race of reptilians who are on their way to take over planet Earth. What happens next in front of the President shocks him, as well as the Vice President. Mystical Man confronts the Supreme Leader, Zayabek, to stop his advancement by returning to his own vibrational world, informing him if he doesn't listen, he will stop him and his army with very strong prejudice. The Supreme Leader, Zayabek, screams out by bellowing out his anger towards Mystical Man, which ends the first chapter, The Dream Assassin Volume 1, which continues into The Dream Assassin Volume 2 that carries on from Chapter 8, with the battle continuing in how this alien leader, Zayakit, wants the entire planet Earth with no human life upon it. This will be the biggest battle in trying to not only save the human species, but to eliminate the massive threat to humanity, and will be a battle that humanity will never forget. Why? Because it is what is being planned by the elite criminals and has been for a very long time, but enforced by an alien race who controls the elite criminals.
Oh my God, that's what you said, an alien race to take over this planet. I need to ask this question a little deeper. Okay, this Mystical Man has discovered that there is a massive conspiracy to take over America by destroying the entire American economy with billions of dollars in counterfeit money, but to also sell a toxic narcotic drug that would kill hundreds of thousands of people all over the United States within America, in order to create fear within the populace, let alone all the billions of dollars of weaponry, then finding out there are thousands of terrorists in America waiting for the right moment to destroy the very foundation of democracy. Yet this character you created from your dream experiences called Mystical Man just vaporizes everything into dust. In fact, beyond dust. Can you explain how you used your dream experiences to come up with such a powerful, limitless being, as you put it?
Well, that's a funny thing. And I know it's a hard concept for so many people to accept or to actually grasp. That is not being disrespectful in any way. We are all conscious beings. It's just some of us as humans are a little different in our path of life. I've chosen a path to be here on this planet Earth to present sensible knowledge. And in my time of sleeping, I experience many different levels of consciousness because my pineal gland is fully open and not encased in fluoride. Everything one would read within my book or books is in reality in my dreams, just like the human man calls Stephen King, where he creates those horror books, movies. In truth, I am positive he would admit that his ideas also come from his dream experiences. On the other hand, my dream experiences of a being who came to me and expressed many things of this being called Mystical Man. And when I started writing, it was like a door opening into another realm, even with The Dream Assassin Volume 2. It was the same thing. It's like this. When an individual has an epiphany, that's a form of sudden self-awareness. Everything begins to change in one's life. Even one's memory improves dramatically. I was so impressed that I remembered everything that I dreamed about. That's why my books flowed. This mystical man, he literally annihilated every terrace in Sean Crowley's massively high building. To be totally honest, the American people would have been horrified if they found out that there are thousands of actual terrorists that have been getting into America and acting as if they were Americans. And that's no different to even Australia. The purpose of all terrorists in my book is to wait for the right moment, then attack by destroying the democracy of a or any country like America, especially to any country that believes in freedom. If you add billions of counterfeit monies into a country, in a short amount of time, you will end up destroying that country's economy. And that's the truth.
Wow, most people would not think of that. It's a clever move.
Well, it's making people realize that there are terrorists in every country to some degree. It's like putting spies who report back to their leaders or whoever he claims to be. It's been going on for many human years. It could be 50 years or even more, especially since the last Second World War, which, by the way, was created by the elite criminals back then. My books, especially my first book called Entrapment, is based on all the seminars and workshops that I presented over 38 years. Its purpose is to awaken human individuals to their way of life and how to change it. It's now rewritten in its layout and editing and adding information and called Entrapment, The Pathway to Freedom, Volume 1, as well as my new book called Entanglement, The Long Journey Home, Volume 2, which has several very important chapters within it, even a personal workbook called Creating Your Reality Through Self-Realization. They are yet in the process of finding a traditional publisher.
Really, that sounds fantastic. When do you believe they will be in the marketplace?
That is a little hard to answer at this time. Finding the right traditional publisher is a long process. Once you find it, then the process to publish can take between 8 to 12 months. It just depends. I have at this moment 7 completed books ready for publishing. The titles of each is number 1, Entrapment, The Pathway to Freedom, Volume 1. Number 2, Entanglement, The Long Journey Home, Volume 2. 3, The Dream Assassin, Volume 1. 4, The Dream Assassin, Volume 2. 5, The World Conspiracy, Volume 1. 6, The Book of Knowledge, Volume 1. 7, The Book of Knowledge, Volume 2.
Yes, I can imagine it can be a long wait indeed. You were saying that there are terrorists in every country. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes, that is right. And I am sure most governments know of this, or even some allow it. A large percentage of governments work closely with the World Health Organization, and it is a proven fact that it was created back in 1947 as a criminal organization just after the Second World War. They are not there for the people's health. They are more than likely run by the elite criminals who are working towards the total destruction of humanity. You only have to open your eyes and look around. Our world is on the brink of madness.
Wow, my God. The world has gone mad, hasn't it? We are run by terrorists.
Yes, there is a lot of truth in that. They are like the mafia of the human past. You know, the mafia in the past, they would just come along and have a massive shootout wherever. A lot of innocent people would get shot. If you truly look at it, that's what the so-called elite criminals are doing now. They have just changed their tactics. They literally buy out businesses if they know they can make millions or even billions. Now, the character in The Dream Assassin Volume 1 called Sean Crowley, who runs the entire terrorist organization, he works for the ones who are higher up the ladder and want complete control of everything on this planet Earth, which includes the annihilation of humanity. What's more interesting, he presents himself as a good person within the human population. And so many people think he's the most loving man because he donates hundreds of millions of dollars each year to hospitals and societies. Yet in truth, he supplies all the weaponry to all terrorist groups worldwide. Yet again, he is a mass murderer, a leader within total terrorism.
Wow, you have placed so much information within your book that tells what is taking place within all of society. To my next question, I want to get down to the nitty gritty by taking a step to how this mystical man created a character you call Andy Truman, who plays the part of Superman, superhero, around the 1960s, with Mystical Man impersonating him as part of a stunt, as you call it, in promoting the first huge magical show at the Yankee Stadium. I mean, was there a main purpose in doing that?
Yes, there was. There was definitely a purpose. It was the vision from my dream experiences. As I write, my cellular memory comes into play and shows me with actual visions from my pineal gland, which is known as the third eye. Sounds a little strange, yet we as humans all have it. We only need to research and bring it forward in our own consciousness. So I thought about it for a while in how to go about in creating an incredible live promotion for the citizens within New York City. Do you by some chance remember a human man named back in the 60s called George Reeves, who was the original Superman?
Do you mean Christopher Reeves?
No, Christopher Reeves was George Reeves' actual son.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Before my time.
Yes, it was. And George Reeves was the real original Superman who played the main character in the TV series for as long as I can remember. I can't use the real person's name as that's not ethical. So I called him Andy Truman to play the part as superhero.
Right, that sounds good. Did he look the same?
No, he didn't. He's a fictitious character in reality. Besides, you can't use the original character without the permission from the original writer. And that is just too much research and sometimes very costly. So I created Andrew Truman for the marketing as well as the promotions for his first free magical show in Central Park, New York, as well as his first magical show to be held in New York City's Yankee Stadium. He became Andy Truman's superhero, where he leaped off the Empire State Building, being George Reeves, where I believe through my own research, the original Superman came off or supposed to have committed suicide.
Oh, wow, that's deep. So, this Andy Truman, who plays the part as the superhero, but is in fact Mystical Man taking on his form in the original Superman suit, then, from what I read in your book, this Superman eventually glides down hovering. He then takes an old gentleman for a ride of his life because when he was a kid, he just loved the series called Superman. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. It explains it more so in the book, The Dream Assassin Volume 1. It was the greatest joy for the older gentleman because as a kid he believed he could fly but never did. Yet his experience to him was heartfelt. Then he spoke to Ann Hicks, who is a chief editor from the television company called CNN, and she asked some questions while he just hovered, explaining why he did what he did, which was to create a marketing plan for his free show within Central Park, New York, as well as the Yankee Stadium, also in the New York City. And that being the reason why I created Andy Truman, not George Reeves.
This next question is about the magical show being held at the New York Yankee Stadium. You stated in one of the questions that you were inspired by your dream experiences. Obviously, in writing this new book of yours, I must say I was lost for words when I read the part about how you created a massive snake you called Sasha from a 2 meter pole, which ended up being some 30 meters in length. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
So, my question is, did you actually experience that phenomenon in your dream experience, or is it simply your imagination?
No, it wasn't my imagination. It was a little different. Give me a moment to work out the best way of explaining that creation. Okay, I travel sometimes within different vibrations by my own intentions or other beings from different dimensions. This experience was supernatural in many ways. I entered a physical, multidimensional world to perform a certain act of help for that multidimensional world of beings, who in reality are human, just like us here on planet Earth. The original host of that multidimensional world could not do what he was meant to do because he died physically. This multidimensional world of physical matter was being plagued by a snake that had a dragon head and had eaten several hundred people on that planet. How it appeared or got onto the planet, no one knew. It just appeared and caused massive, huge drama. Within spirit realm, when it comes to self-personal training, using swords, which I manifested from living energy through thought consciousness, I have found the ability to do this within that realm. The training is very hard, yet unlimited, not like here on Earth being third dimensional. In this multidimensional world that I arrived on, it was quite confusing, looking at my body and what I was dressed in. And I had these two long swords over my back, crossed over like an X. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this massive snake appeared, slithering on the ground with its dragon head off the ground, as if it was looking for prey to consume. I remembered saying in a soft voice, "Oh my God, what the F is that?" It would have been at least 30 meters long, being around 100 feet, and its body was so thick in size, even a large man could not put his arms around it. It was massively scary as it slithered closer and closer to me. Its head would have been at least 15 to 20 times the size of a human head. It honestly looked like a dragon without any feet, being very black and shiny with thick scales over its entire body. They shone. This was one incredible, massive creature. If the sun shone on the scales, it would reflect unbelievable rays, which would literally blind you for a moment or even moments. In those moments, you would no longer be standing. You would be within this snake's belly digesting.
Wow, what a defense system. I know you explained how you remove its head. Could you just give a brief description of that event?
Yes, it was quite a battle to not only be eaten by this dragon snake, but the good thing was, because of its size and diameter of its body that caused it to be a lot slower, where I could maneuver my body movements so much faster. But also, I had the ability to leap up quite high, twisting my body in all directions, which did amaze me. One thing I must say, I am not sure if my body was physical matter or my spirit took on the appearance of looking physical, as I do that today, sometimes in the physical vibration or within spirit vibration, but cannot at this point in my existence do it whenever I want to. There were many different movements, like leaping high, leaping over the dragon snake. I do remember landing on its back, holding my balance was very difficult. It did strike at me several times, but my strikes with my sword hit hard, which did cause this dragon snake some pain. At the end of the battle, I had a very strong thought. I suddenly stopped and just stood there. The dragon snake's mouth opened wide and consumed my entire body. I could feel like I was being pushed down towards its digestive area. I managed to stand and strike hard at its interior wall of its body, causing, after several hard strikes, a long slit. This slit opened up and I moved swiftly out of the snake's body. This dragon snake showed it was in lots of pain, moving around in all directions, knocking me over several times. I saw my moment and leaped up, striking at the lower part of its head several times. The dragon snake came to a sudden halt, with its head being cut so deeply it collapsed, hitting the ground very heavily. I moved quickly, striking hard on both sides of its neck, severing its head from its body. I moved back, sitting on a rock, just staring at this massive dragon snake. What happens next was quite amazing. Hundreds of these people came running out towards me, slowing down to a walking speed, gathering all around the dead dragon snake. This woman, who seemed to be the leader of these people, said to me, "Me and my people give thanks for what you have done, Terremana. This creature has eaten at least 400 of my people." Just then, I was about to say thank you back to her, but I saw my whole body dissipating and woke up back in my bed. As I sat in my bed, I thought to myself, I wonder what the being and all the rest would have thought as I just began to dissipate into nothingness. So that's the lesson, or the reason I decided to put the snake I call Sasha into my book called The Dream Assassin Volume 1. And it was, in reality, a real experience. I even put the part where it swallowed Mystical Man in front of all the audience.
Wow, you removed its head. I would have liked to have been on that multidimensional world just to have seen that battle between the dragon snake and you. That's why you rocked up there. Wow. You were most certainly guided by someone or something beyond this planet Earth, that's for sure. When you woke up in your bed, and what you were thinking makes complete sense, was there any other thoughts going on within you?
Yes, Michael, there was. I was saturated in sweat. My body and my spare bed felt like I was in a swimming pool.
Wow, that's some experience. And that's where you got the inspiration to create this snake you call Sasha. What about this pole you had? What was it?
I created the thoughts for Mystical Man to have this 20-centimeter stick in his top pocket. He took it out and threw it onto the huge stage, then did his magic, and it grew to about 3 meters long. That's when it started turning into a snake, a small snake, which began to grow and ended up 30 meters in length. Then he gave it the name of Sasha, and it was very deep, rich purple. More so, to me, a deep form of black in color, with some black markings all over, like the markings were imprinted. Then there was flute music with Mystical Man dancing in a rhythmic movement all around the stage, with the audience just looking on. Mystical Man threw his arms up high, and the massive snake also goes up high into the air. When the snake turned and came down, Mystical Man put his arms by his side because he knew what was about to happen. Suddenly, Sasha opened his mouth wide, devouring him completely, which is quite funny in a way. You could even say it would be hilarious. Many of the audience would have said, "Oh my God, where is Mystical Man?" But then what happened as the dragon snake called Sasha shot up into the air? It turned, engulfing him completely. Then the snake did its own form of dance all over the huge stage, then began to dissipate back into a 3-meter pole. Then the 3-meter pole stood upright in the center of the massive stage. It began to vibrate while the audience looked on with curiosity. Then suddenly, as an arm popped out of nowhere, then another arm popped out on the right side, even a leg popped out, and then another one popped out. What happened next really created some laughter and built up the curiosity of the audience even further. The pole with arms and legs started dancing to the same rhythm. Well, you could imagine all of the audience began to laugh their heads off. At that point, my imagination also went wild. I saw the audience going completely crazy with laughter. Eventually, Mystical Man pulled himself out of the actual pole. It was like seeing a cartoon character coming out of something narrow or thin. In this case, it was a 3-meter pole. And there he was, standing there, still doing the dance, and the pole shrunk right back down into a little stick. He picked it up, putting it back into his upper pocket. And that basically is how I created Sasha, the dragon snake, the 30-meter massive snake from my experience. I had a multidimensional world. And by the way, I have said this on several occasions. There are, to my current knowledge, 17 multidimensional worlds similar to planet Earth. all at different stages of their own evolution in consciousness.
That is so cool. You created that into your book from a dream experience, but not an ordinary experience. In truth, it was reality. You know, I appreciate how deep you went in explaining the circumstances. Some of the people who are either listening to our podcast or reading this book that has been turned into text form, I believe some would be asking, what am I hearing? Is this fantasy or reality? I have known you, Roman, as Kuntarkis, from 2005. And yes, I've heard stories like this, but not in such depth. And I have to say, they really pushed a lot of buttons within me. Yet, I am really beginning to understand that there is so much more potential we as humans have within us. And what you have said so many times, there is no such thing as impossibility. We are all limitless. It is us who prevents our own personal growth. I was thinking of thanking you at the end of this interview, but no, now would be more suitable. So thank you for all of that.
Well, I must admit it was a little strange waking up from that experience back on that multidimensional world, totally saturated in sweat, especially the bed. Took many hours for it to dry, but funny enough, I went straight back into a deep sleep. And when I awoke, I was completely dry, as well as the bed, and there was no smell of sweat.
Well, that was some phenomenal experience. The best part, you wrote it all into your book, The Dream Assassin Volume 1. This concludes part 4 with Roman as Kuntarkis on his book, The Dream Assassin Volume 1. For more information on his books, visit his website, etcconsciousness.com, or listen to the podcast, kuntarkis.buzzsprout.com. My name is Michael Yon. Thank you for reading this book or listening to our podcast. Please stay tuned for The Dream Assassin Volume 1, Part 5.